All right, hello there and welcome to another After Effects tutorial. In this one, we're going to be talking about how to actually create planets in After Effects. But before we start, we need to understand the effect that is really going to create this, and that is the CC sphere. And to use this effect, we're going to have to go ahead and create a solid. So I'll go to New, Solid. I'll make it let's do like a gray solid right here, light gray. Press OK. And then we're going to go to our effects. So close this up. And we select CC sphere. Drag it on. And now notice that we have a sphere here. Now, how can we use this? Well, if you open up your rotation, you will see that you have the options to rotate it. You also have the radius, so how big it is. You can make it bigger or smaller. You have the offset, so similar to your position. And you can move it with this as well. And you can even keyframe this if you want to, the offset. But when we move the offset, it's going to give us a straight line. So if you want to move this with a curve, you're going to have to adjust the transform down here, and you're going to have to use a motion path. I'll put that back right about there. And then we have a render, which we will look at later. We also have light. So how intense the light is. You have the color that you can change, the light height. So where the light is at. Direction. All right, now we also have the shading down here. So if we open this up, we have things like the ambient, and the ambient is basically how your light is going to be diffused or like how much you want to appear. You have also the diffuse, so how much you want to go around the sphere. So you can affect that. We see how it's changing here. You also have the specular, which affects where the light is actually hitting. So we see how it gets more intense right here once we adjust this. You have the roughness, so how rough the light is going to be. And then you have the metal, which affects the light as well. And then you have the reflective, which does this. So that's a little overview of how the CC sphere works. Good. Now closing this up, and going back to our projects, we can create a new composition. And I'm going to call this guy Mars. And then you will see that I have this texture here. I'm going to drag it in. And then I'm going to right click on it. And then under transform, I'm going to say fit to comp. Now what we're going to do is we are going to pre-compose this. So right click, pre-compose. And I'll call this Mars pre-compose. Press OK. And then in here we have our texture. Now going back out here, we are going to grab our CC sphere, drag it onto our clip. You will now see that we have a planet. And with the render, notice if I change it, so like inside, notice how it changes. So this render is actually affecting how this texture is appearing. So that's something that you can mess around with. I'll set that back to full, like that. All right, so let's say we wanted to add a glow to this. How could we do this? Well, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is simply grab in your texture right here, and then you drag it down, right click, go to transform, and then fit to comp. And then you're gonna pre-compose this again. So right click, pre-compose, and we'll call this Mars pre-compose 2. Just like that. And then I'm going to press OK. Go in here. And then I'm going to add a curves to this guy. So I'm going to go to curves, drag it on. And then I can do something like this maybe, or like that. Well, let's do something like that, a little bit brighter. Like that, and then you can maybe adjust the other colors if you want. That looks interesting. All right. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my first composition right here. And then I'm going to go over to my first comp. And then I'm going to copy the CC sphere effect onto my second composition. And you will see that if I turn this off, I have another sphere. Turn that back on. Now what I'm going to do now is go over here and I'm going to type in radial. And I'm looking for the CC radial fast blur. Drag that down to your second Mars planet, so right here. And now notice that we have a glow on the background. And if you want to adjust how much of this, you can just raise this up. Now, what we want to do is we want to link our glow planet to our first Mars planet right here. And I'll call this Mars Planet 1. And this guy can be called Mars Planet 2, just to be easier to remember. Let's capitalize Mars. All right. Now what we need to do is we need to link the CC sphere from our glow planet to planet 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on planet 1, and you can open this up right here, and then I'm going to lock this, just like that. Now down here, I'm going to open this up, go to Effects, open CC sphere, and then I'm going to open up Rotation, and I'm going to press Alt and click on the stopwatch. So like that. And then I'm going to grab this pick whip here and I'm going to drag it to this rotation X so that the rotation X from planet 2 matches the first one from planet 1. All right, the expression is created. And I'm going to do this for a few of my settings in my CC sphere. All right, awesome. Now notice that if I go over here and I make an adjustment to the rotation of my planet 1, so like I'll move the Y of it, notice that the glow is being affected as well. And to really see this, I can just turn this off. And you see that the glow is moving following the planet 1 rotation. Now we can also adjust this a little bit more if we want. With the first layer, we can actually mess with the blending mode to give us a new look. I can make this maybe, let's try linear burn, see what happens. And then you lower the opacity, you get something like this. That looks pretty nice. Or you could make it darken, overlay, pin light. I'll make it, we'll do linear burn. All right, so you're gonna have to go in and play with these settings to find something that you like, but that's just an overview of how to create a glow behind your planet. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we are going to add a border to our planet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to select down here, right click, and then find where this is in my project panel. So right here. And I'll rename this Mars Planet 2. And then I'm going to duplicate this guy so that I have Mars Planet 3. And after that, I'm going to rename this. And I'm going to call this Turbulent Displacement. Now what I'm going to do is go down here, click on this Mars Planet 2, duplicate it by pressing Control or Command D. And then I'm going to drag this guy down to the bottom. And then with this layer selected, I'm going to press Alt, click on my turbulent displacement, and then drag it on top of my layer. So that my layer, turbulent displacement, gets all of the effects of my Mars Planet 3. And to see this, you just go up here, and it has all of the effects added to it. All right, good. Now we're going to open this up, and we are going to delete this guy. We're going to right click and make a new solid. So I'm going to go to solid, and for the color, I will make it, we'll do like this greenish color right here. Good. Press OK. All right, awesome. Now we're going to go back to our Mars right here, the first composition. And then we are going to turn off these top layers so that we only have turbulent displacement. And we see that it's here now with all of these effects on it. And I'm going to turn off the CC radial fast blur so that I just have the CC sphere. And I'm going to look for an effect called turbulent displacement. I'm going to go and drag this on top of my composition or pre-comp. Now there's different displacements that you can use. You can use bulge if you want, or twist. I'm just going to stick with the turbulent for now. And you see that you have the amount, so how much turbulent displacement you want on it. And the size is where the displacement starts. So notice if I actually bring this down, notice that you see a lot of displacement on the edge. So the lower you bring it, the more on the edge the displacement is going to be. But the higher you bring it, the more towards the center the displacement will be. So I'm going to bring it about right there. And you can adjust the light on this if you want. So if you want to move the light, say more, you can do this. Move the height of it. I'll leave it right about there. All right, good. And down here you have other effects as well. So you have complexity, how complex you want it to be, and so on. All right, good. Now I'm going to close these two up right here. And then I'm going to animate this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the beginning, and then I will click on this evolution right here, put a keyframe, go forward about 10 seconds, and I will bump this up to, say, let's do 10. And if I play this back, I have something like this. We can do a little bit less. So press U to see your keyframes down here. And we will make it, let's do 7. Play it back. Good. Now we're going to go ahead and turn on the CC radial fast blur again. And then we will turn on these layers down here and see what we have. All right, so we have this. Okay. And you can make this turbulent displacement smaller if you want. So you could either mess with the scale like this and do something like that. Or if you wanted to, you could open it up, go to the effects, and then go to your CC sphere. And then you could actually mess with the expression of your radius. If I bump this down, and then if I open this up by clicking on it, and I press plus, say 20, plus 20, notice that it changes. And you can make this smaller if you want as well, like that. Now we just adjusted the size, so I'm not really going to mess with the radius down here. So I'll just click off of this like that, and I have something like this. All right. And one more thing too, if you don't like the color in the background, you can always adjust it. So you can go in here and then you could click on your color, go up to layer, solid settings, and then you could change your color to what you want it to be. Let's see what that looks like. All right, awesome. So now we have a little bit more of a edge or a border to our planet. So you can see that I have a planet and the border or this little background is actually being animated a little bit. If I zoom in, you will see it. It's really subtle, but it's happening. Now what we want to do is we want to simply just animate this entire thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to parent these bottom layers to my top layer right here. So I will grab this pick whip right here, parent it to the top, do the same for the second layer right here, so that these bottom layers follow the top planet layer. And then what I'm going to do is I will say go to 10 seconds, and I will drag my planet to be down here. I'll open up the size and the position by pressing Shift S and Shift P. And I'll bump up the size to something like this. All right. Put keyframes there. And then going back to the beginning, I will actually just drag my planet off right about there. And I will make the size smaller. So we'll make it really small. And to see it, yeah, it's going to be this small. And we'll start it right off there, right about there. And then if you want to mess with these handles, you can. So something like that, a little S curve. And you can easy ease these keyframes also. So F9, and you have this. Now if I play this back, I have something like this. Now there's an issue. This planet is not rotating. So what we have to do is we have to animate the rotations of our Mars CC sphere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the beginning, put a keyframe, and then I'll go to the end, and then I'll just bump this up. Let's do something like that. And you can adjust these as well if you want. This one here, if you want to move that, you can. But I will just undo that, and I'll just mess with the Y right here. Now if I play this back, I have a planet that's going pretty fast. Yeah, that's pretty fast. We're going to slow that down. So I will open up my keyframes. So press U, and we see it, the keyframes, and just bump this down. I was being a little extreme here. Let's do like 7. All right. And then I'm going to easy ease these as well. Play it back. It's a little bit better. And if you want the rotation to keep going, you can just drag it out. So something like that. All right, good. And the turbulent displacement is a heavy effect, so that's why this is taking a long time to render. So you'll just have to be patient. All right, so this is what we have. So that's just a quick way on how you can make planets in After Effects. I hope that you learned something and that you will give it a try. And we will see you in the next tutorial. Until next time.